In this episode, I'll show you how to change your valve stem oil seals without removing the cylinder head. Hi, I'm Darren, an untrained amateur who's determined to save one of the last of these classic cars. This is Roy, a 45-year-old 2.8 litre Vauxhall Royale coupe. When I owned one 30 years ago, they were rare. Now they're unknown. This is one of the last of its kind, and I'm going to rescue it and relive my youth. Follow the rebuild, watch this legend come back to life. Morning everyone. We're continuing to chase down the blue smoke that we're getting out of this car when it's driving. We've had some very interesting results in some of the tests. I mean, we did a compression test and everything looked okay. Number 2 was a little bit down. It was down at 155 instead of 170, which is what the others were. So number 2 is down a bit, but otherwise they seem to be okay. We did a leak down test and that all seemed to be okay, but on reflection, I'm a little bit concerned that the leak down tester I bought isn't working properly, because it just seemed to have 2 gauges that were saying exactly the same thing, and it wasn't showing a pressure differential. It was showing both of them were mirroring each other, and I only really noticed that when I went and reviewed the footage when I edited the film. So yeah, not entirely sure about that one at this stage. I have, however, found an issue. Having done some more research, I've found a missing vacuum pipe. So, as we've seen before, this has a tube that goes into the rocker cover, that goes into the air cleaner. Now, I'd assumed what that was doing was that was allowing blow-by gas to be rebreathed by the carburettor, but it isn't. What it actually does is it allows fresh air in, so it's taking air from the filter, not giving it to it. There's this here, and that, which had a bolt in the end of it, that's supposed to be connected to this vacuum nipple down here. I've connected that to the carburettor, and that should be blanked off on the carburettor. So what that does is that puts manifold vacuum in there, so it hoovers out the blow-by gas all the time. So that might be some of it. So after we do today's job, we'll put it back properly. I'm not convinced about the carburettor yet, because when we started it the other day, it was clearly throwing much more fuel down one vent tree than it was down the other. Something's wrong there. Those carburettors are absolutely notorious for warping, and when they warp, the gaskets that are with them don't seal properly. So what I've done is I've bought some really thick gasket paper, and I'm going to make up. I'm going to take the carburettor off, and probably tomorrow's job is going to be to sit down quietly at home and cut out a new set of thick gaskets for it and rebuild it again and double check everything on that carburettor so that I can be confident it's right. I think it's worth investing the time in that carburettor, because the car does run much, much better with it than it does with the other one. But today's job is valve stem oil seals. They have arrived courtesy of Deutsche Post. They've arrived from Germany. I got them from a company called Edelschmeid, EDELSCHMIEDE.com. I'll put a link in the video. And what they've sent me is a nice little kit. So we've got valve stem oil seals, 12 of them. That's a special tool for compressing the springs. And here's the clever bit. What you have to do, unless you take the cylinder head off and do it traditionally, What you have to do is hold the valves up, because if the valves drop down, you can't. Well, first of all, you bring the cylinder up to top dead centre on the one you're working on, so you can't lose the valves into the engine completely. But you've got to hold the valves up so you can get the springs off. There's a couple of ways of doing it. One way is to put cord or rope into the cylinder and then turn the engine over so it lifts it, so if you like, sandwiches the cord up underneath the valves, and we'll do it that way if we have to, if this doesn't work. But the other way to do it is one of these. That goes in the spark plug hole, connects to my compressor. You put 40 psi of air on the other end of that, pressurizes the cylinder and holds the valve shut. We'll give that a try, see if it works. So this is going to be quite interesting. We'll see if this one, if this actually, if we can change those valve stem oil seals. If we don't find a problem, if the old ones look okay, then we haven't got any further forward, but we know the oil seals are okay. But if they are faulty, if they are letting a bit of oil go through, this will help. Then also the next thing that I've got coming is some proper oil for it and a filter, and we'll do an oil change, because it's just possible it's got it's got modern oil in it. And these engines, there's not a lot of information about these 6-cylinder versions, but the 4-cylinder version, everybody is of the same mind. You don't put like 5W10 or 1540 in it. You need 2050, because 2050 is a lot thicker, and these engines are made for a thicker oil. And again, if we're getting a blow-by problem, or if we're getting an oil burning problem, a thicker oil can only help. So we'll do that as well, just to eliminate it, and giving it a flush out with some oil is not going to hurt it. So I am kind of firing the parts cannon at it a little bit, but I'm just ticking off the list all the things it can possibly be. And if it, if I've got to the stage where that carburetor's right, the timing's right, the valve stem oil seals are right, we've got the right oil in it, and it's still smoking, then it's the rings, and there's nothing else I can do but drop the engine. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what things look like today. So let's crack on. I'll get the rocker box off and set up to take the first one apart. I'll probably show you the first one live and then do the rest of them off camera. Otherwise it'll be really boring. But hey, it's mechanics. It's a little bit more interesting than just welding, grinding, isn't it? So yeah, I'll see you in a sec. Okay, so engine is turned over so that number 1 is at top dead centre. These valves are now shut, which means I can take off these rockers. Make sure we've got no magic holes for things to disappear down. Okay, we need to keep these in order as well, make sure we don't mix them up. So we can only do 2 at a time here. These here are the hydraulic tappets, so we can get an idea of what it looks like. They're brand new. There's nothing wrong with those at all. There's not a mark on that. Nor the camshaft. This thing had some engine work. Well, it's not smoking because they are brand new. It's not smoking because it's still running in, is it? Back to the plan. Right, so we put the adapter in plug number 1. There we go. Just nip that up a little bit. Now we should be able to put some air on it. Apparently a good way of dislodging these valve collets is just to put a socket over the top and give them a little whack. Now the tool that's opening that valve. Aha! That's the way you do it. That's the way you do it. Isn't that clever? Us Brits call these collets. The Americans call them keepers. But either way, by taking those out, and when you let the oomph off the spring, gonna get a workout doing this job. This is one where I might actually use the Dugger gun to put these on and off. So now valve spring comes off, and there, that valve is held nice and still. No movement in that valve. That there is the oil seal. There we go. Well, they don't look that worn. Yep, you can hear it bottom out when it goes on. One down, 11 to go. Nastier seals. That's nice to know. So you tighten them up until the play goes out of them, and then there's a recommissioning procedure where you get the engine started and then you loosen each one till it rattles, and then you tighten these top nuts by a full turn over over 4 stages, because at each time then it lets the hydraulic tappet adjust. Right, hi everyone, back again. It was 10 o'clock this morning when I recorded that last bit of video where I started doing the oil seals. It's now 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I've just finished doing them. It's not difficult, it's just really long and really involved. Or rather, all of the cylinders had 2 different types of seal. They had this one, which these are the type that the new ones were, and they were like that for all of them. And there's it presses onto the valve guide in the bottom, and then there's this retaining spring around the top which clamps the neoprene around the valve. But each cylinder also had one of those, and they're just shit. They're just rubber, and they've got a metal, it's not even a spring, it's just a C-clip and nothing to clamp the top of the valve. And there was also no logic as to which one they were on. Some of them were on inlet valves, some were on exhaust valves. Anyway, complete new set of valve seals. That's the good news. I've identified 2 tappets that I'd like to change, but they're easy to do, and 2 posts, studs, which I'd like to change because the threads aren't great. However, basically what I've just done is put all of the cylinders under compressed air for a significant amount of time, and you can hear them all leaking by the rings like they would. All about the same. If anything, number 4 is a little bit worse than some of the others. But number 2 is the one that came up low on the compression test, and it also came up low on the leak down test, if we believe the leak down test. Number 2 did something really strange. It pressurized the cooling system. When I'd finished with number 2, I took the compressed air off, and of course the engine should be silent, and I could hear it making steam engine type noises, and it was the coolant pressurized in it. If I put 20 or 30 pounds of pressure on that cylinder, it's not like I get an eruption of bubbles out of the coolant, but it does start to move coolant. There is a slight leak on the head gasket, or there's a slight crack in the head. Okay, that extremely messy job was stressing the hydraulic tappets. All this oil, incidentally, acts as an anti-rust coating, which is a good thing. Not necessarily all over the ignition, or the garage wall, or my new tool set. Basically, what it does, you slacken off the rocker arm until you hear it rattle, and you actually do. You sort of can sort of get an identifiable rattle. Then you tighten it by 1/4 of a turn, and then you give the engine a chance to readjust the tappet, so the oil pressure to equalise and that sort of thing, to readjust things. It really did affect the engine each 1/4 turn. I was sceptical that would actually be a thing, but it actually was. So yeah, that should be stressed. I mean, the tuning totally out now. I've had trouble getting it to start. Yeah, we're possibly back to square one on all of that. I tried to set the timing again on the marks, but it really doesn't like that at all. You just have to time it by ear. Okay, let me have a clean up, put the lid back on, and I'll come back to you. Okay, that's been a bit of a day of it. So all the oil seals are done. The engine is absolutely covered in oil, because where you have to adjust them, you know, crank them down, with the engine running, it just splatters oil everywhere. Carb's still not right. It's still not running at idle properly. It's driving fine, absolutely fine, but just not at idle. So that needs another go. I did just take it for a drive, and I think there is less coming out the back. There's less blue smoke now. It's difficult to tell. No, it's not difficult to tell. It is better. Doing the valve seals has helped, definitely. But of course we have discovered this leak between cylinder 2 and the cooling system. Now it's not a massive leak, but it's there. And the only solution I can think for that is to pull the head. Kind of tempted, if it's not chucking out clouds of blue smoke, just to suck it and see on that one and see where it goes. Probably put 1,000 miles on it and do the compressions again or something. Unless it starts overheating or blowing coolant everywhere. But it's not. I really don't know. I need to think. I need to sleep on it. I need to think about it. I'm too tired to make sensible decisions at the moment. So yeah. But oil seal's done, and there does appear to be an improvement. All we've got to do now is get the engine in some kind of tune, which I think is going to mean redoing, you know, whipping that carb off and cutting some new gaskets for it and redoing it. I'll see you in the next episode of Rescuing Roy. Like, subscribe, share. It would really help to get the video out amongst people that that would like to see something like this. And you know, thank you for watching. Yeah, so I'll see you in the next episode.